Thank you. Hello, thank you. Very happy to be here. My first DjangoCon, my third day ever of DjangoCon Europe. I will be talking today about feature flags, a topic which has been interesting me over the last couple of years. So happy to come and share what I've been thinking about with that. Thank you MongoDB for the socks. Very nice. Thank you to my employer Acernis for paying my wage while I'm here and paying my flight to come and see you. I've put a few flags which relate to Acernis. You won't have heard of us. We're a small SaaS platform, small startup based in Nantes with teams also in Porto and Gdansk. We have a 5-person product development team, which is relevant to the feature flag discussion and how we use them. And we're building a SaaS platform for people doing stuff with telecom. Customers mainly in Germany, some in the UK, France, and Switzerland. And we're building it on Django and React and some of the other kind of key words there, which we can discuss if you're interested in these kind of fields, point clouds, building information modeling, documentation, collaboration, sharing, large file sharing. That's me. Some more flags which speak to me. Again, if any of those flags speak to you, I'll be happy to discuss those things. I'm the lead developer at Acernis, which means I'm Python lead, full stack developer, feature developer, and kind of team manager. Before becoming a Python developer, I spent 20 years working in the construction industry, doing specialist consulting, design and analysis, wind engineering, wind tunnel testing, which means I'm one of the people that Will was talking about this morning who are more afraid of web development than data science and data analysis. I'm involved in the local meetup. And last year I became co-maintainer, despite myself, of the Django Waffle package and also some very, very specialist libraries for point clouds. You could find me at a few of the links on the bottom of the page there. So 4 stages for today's talk. Number 1, what are feature flags? And maybe my definition of feature flags for today is not the same as your definition. Why do I use them, and why do I think other people should start to use them in this same definition? So share something of my journey and my team's journey over the last year adopting feature flags, and give you an idea of how to get started using feature flags with Django. So quick show of hands. Anybody who does use feature flags today? Yeah. And keep your hands up if you use them as a temporary tool for deployment. Okay, and put your hand back up if you use them for permanent customization for specific workspaces. Okay, yeah. So those are the 2 versions. So feature flags are switches or flags to turn features on or off. They might be linked to a user or a workspace or a work group or a particular environment, development, production, whatever. They may be time-based. They might have a date for when they turn on and turn off, and some feature flag systems include that. They can be very simple. I'll show you a very, very simple implementation of feature flags in a second. Or, we're developers. We can add as much complexity as you like to a system. And what I'm talking today is temporary tools for development, so to help a development team or a single developer to develop and roll out software more easily, less stress. So a quick example. let's take the simplest possible example, hello world. I'm going to try some live coding here, see how it goes. Okay. Apologies for my operating system. It's a function of the industry in which I operate. You'll have to trust me that the file greet.py contains exactly what I showed you just now. Okay. So, there we go. Wait, you haven't seen it all yet. Okay. So this is great. This is really good code, you agree, but I think it could be even better. I've got a brilliant idea, which is that it could maybe greet me personally. Not just say hello world, but maybe it could greet me. And the way I'm going to implement this is, again, I tried to find the simplest possible implementation of this, just adding a flag at the command line. So if I add personal to my Python call, then it will ask me my name. And if not, then it will just carry on as normal. So I make this update, deploy it to production. In this case, production is a SharePoint folder where any of my colleagues can activate the script. And I'm going to call this greet1.py and run it. My colleagues run it. Nothing has changed. Run it and add the flag. Personal. What did I get a typo? Personal. Even worse, I have an AZERTY keyboard here, and it's in QWERTY layout. Let's say I'm called DjangoCon. Hello, DjangoCon. Okay, this is great. Okay, this is running in production, but my colleague Ida faces customers every day. She's not sure whether she's going to like this. So I then ask her to try it out. Ida, can you try this out? Use the feature flag. So she tries it, types Ida. She loves it as well. Ida's sold. My colleague Felix works in QA. He needs to approve this. He can test it. He can test it directly in production. It's not going to break things for customers because they're still using the standard version. Tries it, Felix. Hello, Felix. Okay, but he's QA, so he thinks, let's try import OS, print os.environ. What's going to happen here? It's going to print all my secrets and environment variables to the screen. Hello, hello, import OS, print os.environment. Okay, Felix is sold. He says, that's great, we're safe. You're not going to leak in our environment variables, so let's put it to production. What do? Do we just update the bash script with this feature flag? What do you think? Yeah? No. Stop, my friend. First, we refactor, simplify, and remove the flag. Look. How much nicer is that? Compare that to that. Okay, we tidy up after the flag. Now, We can run directly with no flag. Everyone has access to the new feature. Everybody's happy. Okay. Okay, so flags, as I'm showing them, are a tool like this for deploying and collaborating straight away with colleagues directly in the production environment without breaking things for customers. They are not, as I'm showing them today, permanent customization for groups of users. I would suggest that maybe for that, it should be part of the data model. If you have a customization or a settings or a configuration object, maybe that's the right way to handle customization. Depends on your context. They're also not needed. I would say maybe this little example, I could have deployed it straight to production, but then Ida was really quite worried about how the customers were going to react, so maybe it was quicker to just show her in production that it was going to be fine. And why are they recommended then? So to speed up development, to speed up collaboration with colleagues, to deploy with less stress. Okay, we already know it's working in production before we turn it on for users. And another advantage potentially is it can separate feature deployment from code deployment. We adopted it as part of moving to trunk-based development, so trying to get as much of our development done on the same trunk branch as a team to have more stable code, to ship fewer bugs because we're testing things in smaller bunches in something more like or directly in the production environment. You could see, I'm not the only one who says so. Trisha Gee is a big fan of trunk-based development. A chap called Simon Willison back in 2014 said that the return of investment when he started using feature flags was ridiculous. Anybody, which web framework did Simon Willison co-create 20 years ago? Yes. Okay, and why not? Well, we saw that we temporarily added a lot of complexity to the code, 3 extra lines to the code, an extra code path to test. It can encourage over-customization. Anybody been in a code base where there were too many feature flags running in production? Yeah, okay. It takes time to implement, it takes time to remove it. So hopefully you've already seen the idea. I'll go through how we adopted them then, again, in a 5-person dev team, product manager, lead developer, full stack developer, QA, data engineer, using Django REST and React. We were experiencing some painful merges. We had an average release cycle of new code of 1 release every 2 weeks, maybe. Sometimes it took months working on a single branch or a single feature to get it into production. And our customers were using the app every week, roughly. And we wanted to match our release cycle with our customer use cycle so we could iterate at the same speed that the customers were using things. And our first step, we were not yet ready to kind of commit to a lot of work, was to put some hard-coded flags into the front end, basically a TypeScript function, which had a list of user IDs and said, okay, if this user has the flag, then show them this feature, and if not, then show them the boring old code. Got us going very quickly. It just required us to add 1 TypeScript file, a few if-else in the code base, and we found that pretty quickly we were deploying more frequently. We were happier working on trunk. With a bit of encouragement, every one of the kind of 5 team members used these flags, merged quickly to trunk, and we usually remember to delete the flags afterwards. And the downsides that we saw, well, activating the flags then in that model requires deployment. You have to deploy a new TypeScript file every time you want to deploy a feature. And we ended up with long lists of user IDs in the code base, which is far from ideal. So what do you do if you're using a robust web framework and you want to add something new? You have a look for what exists in the ecosystem. And I found something called Django Waffle, which looked really cool. It had built into the Django user model, so it directly gave you commands for deploying to all staff, deploying to super users, deploying to groups defined using Django groups. We were able to customize the model, so using our customer workspace model, we could say, okay, deploy this flag just to this, and this workspace. No more need to redeploy to activate the flags. They're stored in the database. And you can manage your dev environment and your production environment and your pre-production separately. Downsides, again, took a bit of time to set that up. I was happy to have had 6 months experience of a messy solution before scoping how much work to do customizing Django Waffle. The documentation at the time I was looking at it was out of date and wasn't building in CI, and there were no tests for Python 3.12, I think. So it goes back to the question, okay, what libraries can we rely on in the ecosystem? I opened a couple of pull requests on the GitHub repo and immediately had lots of 2 or 3 different people responding to pull requests and updating the CI, updating Django, updating Python, everyone with strong opinions on how the pull request should be done and what, et cetera, et cetera. It's part of Jazz Band. So that gave me the confidence to say, okay, let's go ahead with Django Waffle. So here's what I found in Django Waffle. It says it aims for a simple API, a kind of batteries included approach, which works well with the Django built-in user model. It aims to be simple to install and manage. That's my experience. Robust enough for production. It's got. It says it has aggressive caching, and I know someone had a couple of problems customizing their user model and then having to make sure that worked well with the Django caching. Basically, I could see it had more than enough features for what we wanted to do. It had flags, so you could turn things on and off for different people. Switches, which are basically flags, but they apply to everybody. And samples, which let you roll things out for a proportion of your users. You just say, okay, I want this for 10% of the users, and then 50%, and then 80%. It has manage commands, so you create flags at the command line. And template tags, including, I think, a separate integration with Ginger. There's a JSON endpoint, which we use for the integration with the front end. Just pick up the flag state from the front end. And there's support for CI testing. So how do you get started? You start off with pip install Django Waffle. Then you need to add a bit of configuration. Add Waffle to your installed app and add the built-in middleware. All of that's provided by the package. And you do a manage migrate because there are some migrations included in the package. And then to get started, you just type manage waffle flag and then the name of your flag. -- create a new one, -- user, -- staff, -- super user, -- everyone, whatever you need. There's it's well documented. You can do a -- help if you want to know all of the options in there. There's a decorator or a simple function approach in views. So you check whether the flag is active. If so, you put in your brilliant new feature. If not, you keep the old code. There's a template tag, flag else, end flag. If you're using templates, I'm not, but. And don't forget, when it's been deployed to everybody, when you're happy, you're not going to have to roll it back. Then separate command waffle delete my flag to clear up behind yourself. And I like the idea someone was saying, set a cron job, a reminder. If the flag has been active for everyone for 1 month, then raise an alert or just delete the thing. A few alternatives that I came across in the ecosystem. Django flags seems to be maintained, but are less popular, less used, and it's maybe covering a different use case. So if Django Waffle doesn't look right for you, then maybe Django flags is better. Gargoyle was a popular one, which Simon Willison referenced 10 years ago, but that's been archived as far as I can see. And different platforms, I've never tried any of those kind of managed platforms for feature flags. That's another option that some people choose, is a separate platform which lets you manage all of your flags and have a dashboard to view them. We had a talk about some of the worst software bugs in history the other day. A couple of them came from feature flags. A small one had kind of preparing for this talk. I went to a meetup at the start of the year and came across one developer who's just sworn off flags. He said, okay, yeah, we tried them. We won't do that again. Because when the product managers found out we could deploy features on a case-by-case basis for different customers, they just sold that to everybody. And we couldn't make any more progress because there were just if-else everywhere in our code base, duplicated code. So he made the kind of unilateral decision to remove the flags. Doesn't want to hear about feature flags again. And if you want to hear a worse example, then have a search for DevOps cautionary tale, or the $460 million mistake, which was a company, a high-frequency trading company, which used feature flags to activate different options in their high-frequency trading algorithm. They reused an old feature flag, which had been sat around unused for many years. They decided to reactivate it for a new feature. High-frequency trading, then you're buying and selling stocks very, very, very quickly. They activated this new feature flag without realizing that it was already set differently in different production machines. One of their machines suddenly started behaving very, very strangely, making lots of very bad kind of purchasing and sale decisions. No one understood where it came from because it was kind of something to do with the environment of that one production machine. So they tried to roll everything back, but rolling it back meant that actually this feature was applied on all 8 machines. 45 minutes later, they worked it out, shut the whole machine down. But by that time, they had bankrupted the largest, at the time, I think the largest high-frequency trading company in the world. So they then spent 6 months winding up the company and paying off all their creditors. So please do clean up your flags when you've done with them. You will be happier, and less risk of nasty side effects. A few pointers if you want to go further with feature flags. People use them for A/B testing, for canary rollouts, kind of rolling out a feature to a few customers to see if anyone panics or if anything breaks. And for experiments, experimenting with different features. And there's a nice article from Martin Fowler online which discusses these different types of flags and different uses and setting them out in terms of increasing duration and has different ways of classifying feature flags. That's it. Thank you.
Graham, thank you. That was wonderful. I've got two questions, but I'm going to go for the better one because we've only got time for that one. Cleaning up flags. Have you got any great advice on implementing system checks or any other heuristic to make sure that when you want to get rid of a flag, you find all the places where it's featured and make sure they've finally been cleaned up?
Yeah, I'd say, what do you do in your team for good housekeeping? Kind of adopt, whether it's code review or periodical checks. I want to write a cron job. I mean, we use Huey running in our production system, so I just want to run a Huey task or maybe a Django startup task to check. Is there a flag? Is it set for everyone? And was the last modified date more than a month ago? And if so, then probably raise an alert in Sentry, just because we're using Sentry for error monitoring, and I think that's an error if there's a flag which is sitting there untouched.
So we are running out of time again. So thank you for the talk.